Welcome to Second Chance MTG. We're going to be doing a deck tech for Legacy. It's one of the staples of practically every format, really, but it's one of the staples of Legacy, and it is one of the cheapest and easiest to learn how to play, and that's why we're going to be doing this real early. So here we go. So I play Red White Burn. I call it Burn to Death, and you'll see why in a few minutes. So Burn likes to play 3 damage spells. A Lightning Bolt goes about and does 3 damage to target creature or player. And then you have Chain Lightning. Does the same thing, but it can be fired back at you if the opposite player pays 2 red mana. A little disconcerting, but almost no one fires it back at you. Lava Spike does 3 damage to target player. It only hits the player. It's slightly less good than the other 2. And then Rift Bolt. Rift Bolt is an interesting card. It has a suspend 1 cost. And the suspend 1 means that you exile it after you've paid for the exile. And then it comes into play the next upkeep, and you play it. You cast it during that time. So the interesting thing about Rift Bolt is that it costs 3 mana. It can get around a number of counterbalances and all sorts of weird nonsense that people like to throw at you. So all these things do 3 damage to target creature or player. Lava Spike only does it to player though. So those are the main staples of the deck. And then you have Fire Blast. Fire Blast is the kill spell. It's the spell you want to cast last, and it deals 4 damage to target creature or player. But you never pay the 6 mana. It is always you sacrifice 2 mountains to play this card. That's how you play this card. It's very good in Legacy Burn. And then you have Price of Progress. Price of Progress deals damage to each player equal to twice the number of non-basic land each player controls. So Price of Progress goes about and hits almost all the decks in Legacy. It is such a great card to have because you are hitting your opponent for multiple for 4 or 6 or even 8 damage each time. It's an excellent card to be playing. Now, here's a weird concoction of mine. I have 2 Sudden Shocks. These Sudden Shocks, you mostly do not find players playing this card, but I'm playing it because of the Split Second. The Split Second allows me to get around things like counterbalance, and it allows me to go and hit infect creatures and alluring creatures and all sorts of nasty buggers that I don't want to deal with. So for the enchantments, we have one. It's a 3 of in my deck. It's called Sulfuric Vortex. Sulfuric Vortex is at the beginning of each player's upkeep. Sulfuric Vortex deals 2 damage to that player. If a player would gain life, that player gains no life instead. Now, the more important of the 2 rule text is the second one. It is if a player would gain life. If a player can gain life when you are playing Burn, it makes it very difficult for you to win the game. So this card is extremely useful against Uozama's Jitte or the Batter Skull or various other cards that allow your opponent to gain life. And if they do, it's very hard for you to win. These are essential to the deck. So let's talk about the creatures. We got 2 Grim Lavamancers. These are kind of slow going, but they have a nice ability in that you can pay a red mana and exile 2 cards from your graveyard, and it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So you keep using this over and over throughout the game. It's very nice to have early in the game, and it gets better as the game goes on. We have 3 Vexing Devil. Now, I love Vexing Devil. It is such a fun card to play. But what you'll notice about most Burn decks is that they will play Monetary Swift Spear. Monetary Swift Spear is a slightly better card, but I love this card. This is a ton of fun. When Vexing Devil enters the battlefield, and any opponent may pay 4 life to him or her if that player does sacrifice Vexing Devil. So it's a 1 cost for a 4/3, or it deals 4 damage to them. It is such a nice card. I love it. And then we have Eidolon of the Great Revel. Eidolon of the Great Revel is a newer card that came out, and it just smashed when it came into Burn. Burn needed this card so badly because it is a 2/2 creature, but more so for its ability. Whenever a player casts a spell with mana cost converted mana cost 3 or less, Eidolon of the Great Revel deals 2 damage to that player. Almost all Legacy decks play cards that cast for 3 or less mana cost. This is such a good card, and it is absolutely devastating for combo decks. So you have, lastly, but most importantly, is Goblin Guide. Goblin Guide is essential to Burn. You cannot play Burn without playing some Goblin Guides. This is a 2/2 with haste. It just goes and keeps on hitting. Now, it has a slight problem of allowing players to draw lands as it attacks, but it's well worth the cost. So for lands, let's start with the fetch lands. If you're playing a mono red burn deck, you are still playing fetch lands. Fetch lands are so important to Legacy because it allows you to go faster. It allows you to clean up your library and go faster because you're not drawing lands after lands after lands. So you need the fetch lands, even if they are a little expensive. I'm playing 6 mountains, and obviously it's mountains. You need to have them in a burn deck. Now, I have 2 plateaus. You haven't seen any white creatures in my deck or any white anything, but that's for the sideboard. I really go about and made my sideboard very special. I am so tired, so very tired of losing to combo. So I am playing such a weird card in Burn that it shocks people. I am playing Thalia. Thalia makes non-creature spells cost 1 generic mana more to cast. This is absolute insanity, but I can't stand it. I must defeat combo. So I'm playing 2 Containment Priests. Containment Priest says if a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. This is such a fantastic card. You really need this against Reanimator or Show and Tell. It's very, very good. So, lastly, we have Ethersworn Canonist. Ethersworn Canonist is each player who casts a non-artifact spell this turn can't cast an additional non-artifact spell. This means that combo decks can't just play spell after spell after spell. This card effectively stops them from doing all those things. So I have some other deck hate. I don't really like Miracles. It's a very complicated and slow-going deck. I want to kill them nice and fast, so we have Exquisite Firecraft so that I can kill them very quickly. One hopes that I can draw into these and slaughter Miracles. Well, Dredge is hard to beat. With Burn, Dredge can win turns 2 and 3, while I take about 5 turns to win. So I need to get rid of and deal with Dredge very quickly, and Rest in Peace does it very nicely. It exiles all the cards from the graveyard. And I have 1 Ensnaring Bridge to deal with Show and Tell, to deal with Reanimator. This card effectively stops huge creatures from coming and attacking me. And then lastly, we have wear and tear. So red does not deal with enchantments at all. It doesn't interact with them. So you need a white spell or some other color to deal with the enchantments, and that's why I have wear and tear. I have 2 of these in my board so that I can get rid of Leyline of Sanctity or whatever nonsense the other player is playing. So I have 2 wear and tears. This has been Red White Burn or Burn to Death with Second Chance MTG. Thank you for watching.